Blessings and welcome, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much for also being here, too. First things first, I am going to get us set up on Instagram, and then we'll get started. Blessings, blessings, and welcome. I am so very grateful for this beautiful and very, very powerful day. It feels that we are really coming into some major shifts now. Collectively, we are beginning to understand things in ways that we have not before. We are all beginning to connect the dots of a higher consciousness together. And that's what this weekly live stream is all about. Here at 4D Trinity, what we do is we bridge fourth dimensional consciousness through the union of mind, body, and emotions with spirit. Fourth dimensional consciousness is that place, is that frequency, is that space of the heart, is that divine wisdom, that divine alchemy that is always present in the heart space. And it is a constant. It is, I believe, the backdrop of all creation, that love, that plane of consciousness is an absolute, accessible continuum that is present and here for us if we would have it. If we would choose it, as we would choose it. And it is here at 4D Trinity that we meld and we merge and we consider and we talk and we meditate and we practice together in getting to know who we are in that 4D. We are creating 4D consciousness together. We are creating this dimension of awareness, this dimension of absolute love without an opposite together. It is my consciousness, it is your consciousness, it is our combined consciousness that creates the correct conditions for it to be so. Because if I generate that love is present for me to tap, but that love is also present there for you to tap and for someone else to tap, etc., etc. So today's topic is so very exciting for me. Thank you for hopping on Instagram. I'm so very grateful. And thank you everyone here at YouTube. So we're going to get into it. You know, this idea of parallel dimensions is what we're going to talk about today. So let's consider that every person is and has their own universe, right? If we think about it, a soccer mom has a different dimension of experience from a black belt in Kung Fu, perhaps, who really is only training in Kung Fu and does not have an interest in children or raising a family. There's the football player that has a different dimension of experience, the yoga teacher that has a different dimension of experience. The hospital patient has a different dimension of experience in their reality, right? Each of us are filling our cup, filling our experiences on the outside with what we see on the inside. So no matter what your dimension of experience is, how you decide to see it is going to validate it, is going to give it momentum in one direction or the other. So their own dimension of experience, right, is present. If I am a dentist, then a lot of the aspects that are going to be rocking out my world and in my world are going to have to do with dentistry, with me passing tests, with me seeing patients and clients and keeping my gear clean, etc. And if there are, if my focus in another dimension is being that yoga teacher, and if that's what I'm here to do and I feel a genuine call to that, then perhaps all of my interest and my energy is going to go into creating the best classes I can be and in learning and studying more with other teachers that I can bring that to my students. And again, we know what's going on inside us is connected to how we experience our outside, but also how we experience our outside is directly connected to what's going on through us on the inside. And perception is key. And the mastery of perception leads to knowledge. We think about perception as being rooted in the physical eyes and the 3D-ality of what we see here in this universe that we call it, in this world that we see. And we think about what we have been told about the universe, about the world, and how those beliefs and those lenses, especially those that we agree with and say, yes, that is true to me, how they influence then how I see the world on the outside, what I am to be afraid of, what I am to welcome in, what is good, what is bad. These lenses in the physical eyes sustain the dual vision of this 3D grid matrix. Now, as we learn, though, through our spiritual practices, whether you're a scientist or a meditator, and you come into that awareness of realizing unity, of realizing that there actually is no separation between me, my body, and the body of the universe, and that the space, the empty space in between us, is actually full of energy and information, that which I like to propose is the actual grid matrix of collective consciousness that interconnects all people, places, and things through all time, space, and dimensions. I will come back later and I'll put a link. We did a 4DT maybe about 6 months ago on time, space, and dimensions. So I'll put a link up top for that at my YouTube later. And this idea of parallel dimensions and parallel travel, and knowing that perception is key to what I choose my reality to be. Well, as we amass, right, our spiritual potency and learn to work with our spiritual will and choose love, begin to trust the heart and our intuition over those properties, over those stories we've been told about the world that would keep us bound to the world and never really knowing who we are or what the possibility or potentials are from a 4D level of this experience, where what I teach is where the world changes from being that 3D version of reality to heaven on earth. And that's what we do here at my show, 4D Trinity. Again, merging mind, body, and emotions, that being your multidimensional self, with spirit, that being the heart, that being the wisdom of the truth of unity, consciousness, where there is no separation. And you see, that vision comes from the third eye and through the heart center, right? We know here, the teachings I share, the third eye and the heart center see the exact same. And as we open the heart, right, by healing our lives, and as we open our third eye through our spiritual practices, our sometimes it's through medicine ceremonies, and it doesn't have to be, though. We have everything already inbuilt in us. If you understand the sacred secretion or this Christos energy, everything, all of those molecules, all of those potentials for enlightenment are within us already. And these substances or these ceremonies just help us to remember, to come into contact with that which maybe we haven't had contact with before. And so ignite the potentials of understanding the world, the universe, in a much bigger and broader way. And that's what we do here. And it's all about bridging this heart center, because what I teach is that the heart center, and you already know this, if you're watching this, you already have a connection, I'm sure, to this sense that we know the heart is all knowing. It's the mind, right? That can leave us sort of dodging landmines and can have connections and attachments to who we were in the past, or to those traumatic, sometimes violent, or just really awful experiences we've had, pain, trauma, being bullied, sexually assaulted, the list goes on and on. And this is that 3D-ality. These are the lessons and the teachings that this world can have for us. And they don't always have to be to that end of the spectrum. Yet, these aspects come in and we can either be marked by them and so carry them with us in our life and let those be the lenses that we perceive through the physical eyes. And so collapse wave functions, create those realities, plug into those grids through the grid matrix, and so funnel it and pipe it back down for our reality. Or we can choose again. And that's what we're talking about here today, is choosing again. So I'm going to get on with reading some more notes here that I'm so excited to have created this morning. So parallel dimensions, let's think about this for a minute. When you travel, have you ever traveled anywhere? I remember when I went to Australia, I was in a different dimension. It was like, whoa, I mean, really like the land down under. This was a different dimension. The people and now granted, I was a mad hippie, did I have my dreadlocks at that point? I definitely had my dreadlocks at that point. This was a whole different world that I was living in. But even still, I remember landing in the airport and no one was wearing shoes. And I was like, ooh, in LA, you would not get away with that at LAX. If you know what I'm talking about. There was just a whole different dimension of being. And very much like I know it in my heritage, I'm half Mexican, and there's this mañana, mañana, like tomorrow, tomorrow, later, later. Or I also grew up in Ireland, and it's like, sure, we'll get to it tomorrow. There's this sort of like, you put it off, you put it off. And the Aussies were the exact same. They were the most chill. And here I'm coming from this hustle and bustle. I was living in New York. That was a different dimension. The accent, a different dimension, a new language. When you learn a new language, right, your synaptic capabilities. And let's just narrow it down to this one lifetime, because I know, right, if you have had many past lives of speaking many different languages, perhaps you come in to this life. If you believe in past lives, you may not, but it's a parallel dimension that we can call from, but that you might come in already wired synaptically, so that you just have to take 1 or 2 classes or a course and you're like, blah, 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 and get in that culture and you can do it, right? You're in a different dimension. Our emotions can pull us into different dimensions of experience, right? When we're happy, when we're sad, when we're fearful, when whatever's going on, to the degree that we agree and say, yes, I'm feeling sad, that's going to create a certain dimension of experience for us, right? I get my, and I'm making up a story here, like, right. So say my partner like just brutally breaks up with me and is really mean to me. And I can go to the liquor store and buy a bottle of vodka, call my best friend and be like, honey, I need a drinking partner and see what road that takes me down. I can decide to, go to the mountain, cry it out, journal. I can decide to say, thank you, because I was really over that anyway. There's an infinite amount of dimensions, but we choose. And these examples are just that. They're just examples. So who you were in the past and who you are in the future, these are also, right, parallel dimensions, parallel universes. Who have you been in the past? We all have a childhood, right? And we all have different pasts. We all have different ideas about who we have been in the past and who we want to be in the future, okay? And all of these things are calibrated by the thoughts that we've decided to agree with through our mind, through the stories we've been told about the world, but they are also those aspects that are the truth in our heart. I call this the seeds of truth in our heart. We all come in with this divine capacity to know thyself and to be aligned with that accessibility to what might seem intangible, right? Maybe you really want to be a concert pianist, yet everyone in your whole family is like, hello, no one's a musician, no one can even dance or hum a tune. Yeah, good luck with that. You might be having to really jump the odds to align with your truth and be like, well, you know what? I don't care what the world says, what my family says. I know that's a truth in my heart. What is your truth in your heart? And what I'm going to share with you here is this idea, the higher self. This is the energetic blueprint of our light body. When the light body remembers that it is not just contained in this physical aspect that we are, but when we are turned on and tuned in to the frequencies of love. And I love what Drunvalo Melchizedek says. He says, and I quote him often on this, that really the path to enlightenment is healing your life. So whatever's going to create those circumstances for you to understand what that healing means to you, to begin to implement, maybe it's a modality, it's Reiki, or it's seeing a therapist, or whatever it might be, new vitamins, new meds, whatever that path is for you, that you're going to begin to activate that sense of knowing. And just give me 1 second here. All right, thank you. Okay, so this idea, though, of the higher self, I feel that there is one higher self. I feel that really, like the holographic universe that we live in, higher self is an infinite and really eternal aspect of all the components of that which we are and that which we can be here in this universe, and multidimensionally, right? We exist multidimensionally, and there's so many different parts to this. I'm going to do my best to piece it all together to offer and serve you up some goodies and some ways to think about these aspects. And we're going to do a beautiful guided meditation at the end, so please do hang around. Okay, so what I get in my meditations is that those glimpses that we have of future self, of the version of ourself in the future that excite us, that we go, oh yes, right? Whether you're a rock star rocking out at Madison Square Garden, whether you are that dentist and you pass your exams and you have your certificate and your dream is to have that little dental school of your own, or whatever it is, it's that those things that give us the tingle, that's the other version of you in a different dimension popping through via higher self, because it's rooted in love, right? If it was coming from a different aspect that was a lower energy, then it wouldn't necessarily be the higher self. But we're going to say that those things that give us the tingle, that excite us, is the higher self popping through the dimensions and sort of saying, knocking on the door, right, of your perception, of your ability to perceive the offerings and the messages coming through. And higher self is saying, do you see this? Are you getting a hit of this frequency? Are you getting a hit of what this feels like for you? And we can be like, whoa, and know, right? There's things that you already know about you. What do you already know about you? And how, to what extent are you embodying and living them? And there's no right or wrong, and time doesn't exist, so it's not like you're late. It's not like you're late at all, right? We're understanding, we're getting this stuff together. And perfect timing always is, especially rooted in love. And so you're always in the right place at the right time. And the divine circumstances are just that, divine. So what if higher self is that download of these future selves, right? And higher self is a lot more, but higher self can wear many hats. So what if it's this aspect, though, that comes through when we get those like woes of these future visions of ourselves, whether we've had those woes since we were a child, or the woes that we get along our awakening, our spiritual awakening and relevation, right, of beingness. And when higher self shows us those future potentials of what we can do, where we can go, how we can amass and manifest in our lives, right? We can get those glimpses and we can forget them, or we can use them and we can work with them. Those visions of future selves that turn us on are actually parts of us ready to be embodied in the now. The higher self exists in the now. The now is not weird, right? I have double jointed fingers. Side note. So in the nowosphere is the 0 point. The nowosphere is that tiny space in the heart. It's all about heart wisdom. It's all about heart wisdom. That's the gateway through which we receive the revelation. That's the gateway through which what comes manifest, manifest, for us. Is that in alignment with what serves the higher good? That's in service of generating the sacred geometry, not just for me, but for one and all. When we honor the heart. So those ahas and those downloads that you get from higher self that excite you, where you go, oh shit, I think I'd have to go to college and I'd have to do this and do this and do this to get that. Well, remember, that's just what we've been told about the world and the way the world works. But higher self, future self, parallel dimensions are here for us to hop, skip, and take away time. And always for the highest good. We never force a will, and we never force something into being if it's not its divine alignment to be, right? For us, we're not manifesting and pushing and forcing anything with the most high divine love. But we are simply paying attention when love peeks through, as with the higher self might, and say, give us a little vision or a tingle in a meditation or out in nature, or you could be bowling. Could be making oatmeal. It doesn't matter, but it could have that aha, and where you're like, you get that, and you're like, and you remember who you are. That's what we're doing, is we're remembering who we are. And today in our meditation, we're going to hop, skip through, and we're going to gather. We're going to connect with higher self in our meditation. And we're going to connect with these parts of ourselves in these parallel dimensions and actually communicate with them, commune with them, and receive further assistance in how we may connect with those visions of ourselves that we know are true in our heart. And that's so exciting. Okay, so these notions come in meditation, right? We see the bigger picture. So like another little example of how these considerations of parallel dimensions and whatnot work. So, if you've ever gone to a tarot reader, right? And they say, oh, and they say, well, if you keep going in the same direction, then XYZ, what the cards are saying from this time and space now, what they are revealing is that if you continue in the same manner, this is the potentials of what can happen, right? They're giving you a dimension that is cast forth from where you are putting your time, attention, and energy from this now space. And equally, right? The one doctor that says you'll walk again versus the 5 doctors that say you won't. So if you really listen to your doctor, I've worked with many people over the years. I've been a facilitator of many different healing modalities and therapies in many different healthcare settings for 20 years now. And I've heard a lot of individuals, and we don't judge, but some individuals that have a certain diagnosis would say, the doctor says there's no cure. And they believe that, right? And then and so that's the dimension, that's their dimension that they're going on. There's no hope, there's no thought, there's no cure, there's no this, there's no that. And to the degree that one has cultivated the ability to listen to higher self, to tune to God, to source, to love, to light, to that which is beyond the stories that the doctors tell us, that tune us into the miraculous, the happenstance, the sovereign power that comes manifest in the now moment. If we don't have an aptitude to just be open to receiving those little tingles of like where higher self might come in and say, go to a different doctor, get another opinion. Now, and what I want to preface this by saying as well is that there's no right or wrong. Each of us can have whatever experience we're having, right? And we get into, I know as a healer, right? I've been through those highs and lows where you want to fix everyone. You see the magical power of this modality or of these circumstances or these teachings that you're sharing. And you go through this thing where you want to help everyone. And then you realize you're like, oh, we're all doing our own thing. And that's okay. And where everyone is at is where they're at. And we allow non-judgment and grace for ourselves and for others. And when someone is ready to heal, when someone is ready to make those changes, those shifts, and then they come to us and they say, you know what, I'm ready to learn about meditation, or I'm ready to learn about Reiki, or I'm ready to learn about spirituality. You want to, do you know anything you can share with me? That's when it's going to be most potent to share with them, because they are ready to receive. They are coming forth. And so, again, there's no judgment about what's right or wrong. Yet what I'm here to share with you is that there's more. There's an and. There's an and to this binary TikTok of the 3D matrix, the polarization. There is the and into trinary, into heart, into the 0 point space of the heart that manifests from love and only love without the dual lenses. Okay. So when you change directions, you change dimensions. If one of those patients that I had worked with who had decided that their disease, that they were going to listen to the doctor, that their disease was incurable, they were going to keep going on that trajectory, like that tarot reading. It's like, well, if you keep doing this, this is the potential of what's going to happen. You're going to die in 20 years. All of your synapses are going to, dwindle. Your nervous system's going to fail. There's like lists, there's books of lists of things, what happens when you get this kind of cancer. Well, from all of the records of patients that have come before, this happens. What happens when you do this? It's this, it's this. And so we can believe that, or we can choose again. And we can choose to create that correct condition to say, okay, how else might I see this higher self? How else might I generate the correct conditions within myself so that I can listen, so that I can hear, so that I can see, not just with these eyes, but with these eyes, a greater dimension of potential that is sacred, that is holy, where sacred geometry is generated from my very choice of choosing again from the heart, from love. And that's the power that we're talking about. So it's funny, if you've seen any of this stuff online, there's these cute little vignettes. And so I'm using this, but so just talking about, again, to think about the parallel dimension aspect, right? We have the girl and the guy, and I pray you can see this. We have the girl and the guy, and he's proposing to her, and he's like saying like, man, I've got the ring, I've got the roses, I got the chocolates, will you be my wife? Now, there's these trajectories, there's these different paths that, depending on her choice and what she decides, right, of these potentials that can happen. So she marries him on the top one, and they decide, oh, let's live happily ever after. They get the house, they have the kids, right? That's one dimension. That's one parallel dimension of what could happen. On another dimension, she could be like, I want to date all these guys. I'm going to say no, thank you, as sweet as you are, and I'm going to go on Tinder. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about this imaginary stick figure. And she's going to go and date because she wants to be independent. She wants to party. She's like not ready to settle down yet. Now, equally, she could choose neither of those. And she could say, you know what? I'm actually going to become that yoga teacher that I know is the truth in my heart. She's going to go to India. She's going to become a yoga teacher. There's all these different possibilities for us. With every choice we make, a whole different set of circumstances activates, and you are not locked in. Here's the good news. You can choose again. You can change your mind as many times as you want. And you may find that happening as you refine the mental continuum of what is driving you and go beyond the mental and emotional pushes and pulls of what you think you need to be happy and safe, and drop it into the heart where truth knows how to guide your way into perfect protection. You don't need protection. That is very 3D. We did a show a couple shows ago. Again, I'll come back and I'll put a link here on YouTube up top for that. To the degree you need protection, you will need protection. To the degree you think you need protection, right? You need energy protection. But eventually we learn that that's just a part of the illusion. But now I'm getting off point, so let's come back. Okay, so when you change directions, you change dimensions. Now, and another thing, how many dimensions are there, right? So what has come and epiphanated through me is that, we're making all this stuff up. We are making up dimensions. So as many dimensions as, honey, as you want there to be, there are. As many dimensions as you have been told there are and you believe there are for you. I keep it very simple here. When I talk about multidimensionality, we're talking about physical, mental, emotional. Okay, boom, keeping it locked in at that. When we talk about the dimensions, where my focus is in bridging knowledge and wisdom and information and sharing that with you, pertaining specifically to the third dimension, this world, the grid matrix, the collective consciousness of this world, as we've been taught and shown and told to believe at what is true, that it is so, and with all of its limits and all of its blessings too, right? But if you've healed your stuff to a certain degree here, the world is not a bad place to be. You can be in the matrix. Anyone can do like these patients. If they're like, I'm gonna have cancer and that's how I'm gonna go. It's like, well, okay, how may I help? Make your journey comfortable. How may I be of service for that? I'm not going to try to change the trajectory that you're choosing for you. And equally, we can choose whatever we want to see here. We can choose however we want to experience. And this is the cool thing about the dimensions. So how many dimensions are there? There are as many dimensions as you can imagine, as we can imagine. But again, my focus here is bridging fourth dimensional consciousness, is learning who we are as a physical body in this world, but learning how to plug into the heart, the 4D consciousness, so that we can be in the world, yet not of it, not bound by the cray-cray, not bound by the stories, by the limits, by our pain, by the past, by those timelines. Okay, so here we go. Let's keep going. This is fun. Okay, so different dimensions. And I do want to just check the time. We've got a lot to cover. Okay. Different dimensions. So even just in a very 3D way, right? Your body. Have you ever been through an experience of gaining weight, losing weight, right? I know when I was a size 14, 16, the clothes I would shop for and the places I would shop were very different to the 9, 10 that I am now. And each was a different dimension of my experience. I was in a different physical body than I am now. Each was a different experience, a different timeline, trajectory that was bringing in different people, places, information. Equally so, if you've been a burger and hot dog kid your whole life, and then all of a sudden you become spiritual, which you don't have to really to become a vegan, but say you're just like, you know what? My body's telling me I want to go vegan. All of a sudden, you're not driving through the fast food lanes anymore. You are having a different experience. You are creating different dimensions, parallel dimensions of yourself to have access to a whole new plethora of information. You're meeting new people. You're realizing there's tofu bacon. There's a whole different experience, right? From a fast food hamburger. And so you're living in a different dimension of experience. And it's that simple. And thank you for the little love heart. Thank you, everyone on Instagram. You know, I need to put glasses on. Ooh, these are all sorts. Oh, 4D fighting arts. Whoop, whoop. Hello, love. And thank you so much, everyone. And I don't even know you guys personally, but I thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you. I really, really appreciate it. So let's keep going. Okay, so you change your body, you change your diet. So different trajectories of possibilities then begin to open up for us, right? Okay, so choice and timelines. Each choice, as we looked at our little mapping here, each choice creates a new timeline or set of them. Higher self is always inviting us to know thyself. But the answers you seek do not come through mere words only, but by exercising the guidance of higher self and receiving inspiration, receiving the aha, the spiritual juice, the nectar, the spiritual genesis of greatness is what I call it, which is you simply experiencing peace, unity, freedom, and sovereignty. So you can meditate all you want and you can get these downloads and be like, whoa. And that's like a certain level, right, of where that can take you. But if you really put into practice what the divine guidance is as it comes to you, that's where then all of the other potentials are going to arise and you're going to get things on a whole different level that you hadn't before. So encouraging you to put into practice, right? And yes, journaling, yes, getting that aha and just sitting with it, chewing on it, processing it. But then what part of that tingle is still with you? Live it in your world. Do it. This morning. Okay, so I know some of you know, and thank you for following my other at Instagram. I have at Grid Mind Science. I am creating a movie called Grid Mind Science that's all about understanding the metaphysics of the universe. Okay, so thank you everyone for following me over there. The companion book that I'm working on to it is called Holy Grail Hologram. And the Holy Grail Hologram is where we shift from, and we still maintain the Merkaba, right? The sacred geometry of learning how to live in the frequencies of the Merkaba, but where there's a natural graduation, if you will, into embodying the Taurus field, right? Which is all about living from the heart space, which is about love and only love, which is so super powerful, okay? And so why am I telling you this? Why am I telling you this? Choice and timelines, each choice we create, because that's where we're going when we live from the heart. What I always say is that love makes geometry sacred. Otherwise, geometry is just geometry. And there's a palette of sacred geometry as a constant in this universe. But to the degree that I allow myself to be in harmonic convergence with that is to the degree I will experience it in my life, in my body, in my health, in my words coming out of my mouth, and the way I feel in every interaction that I have in the universe. And so we're always veering towards greater love. Now, as you know, okay, so Grid Mind Science, I am not a physicist. I wish I kind of was. I might have to start dating a physicist, a quantum mechanist. So, but I have just such a fascination, which I know a lot of us do, right, in the realms. And that's the whole baseline for the movie I'm creating, is this bridging the gap, which is becoming smaller between science and spirituality. But I like to riff. I love to riff, and there's some really cool people. And maybe some of you are here now on this 4DT that are connected with me through my Grid Mind Science at Instagram, because we have these conversations and you guys are just holding space for me, because I know I'm a kid. I tried to do physics in college, and I literally cried after 4 months. I just could not take it. Synaptic blackout. I couldn't understand it. This was a long time ago. This is probably like 15 years ago. And I bawled my eyes out and I was just like, I don't understand. But now, a little bit longer in the spiritual practices, a little bit deeper down the path, I'm like, oh, holographic universe, right? The watermelon contains the seed. The seed, right, as long as it's not GMO, I know some of you might be thinking that, but the seed we plant, that seed creates more watermelons. Each cell in the physical body has the potential to create a whole other body, just one cell, and you have trillions upon trillions upon trillions of cells. You have trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon trillions of trillions of atoms that make you up. And these atoms, at a subatomic level, are particles and waves. And it's just that the jello has been set to the configuration of your body as it is now. Again, you know, if you've been a skinny binny, and then you're like, and that's just stuff I'm making up here, and then you're like, I'm going to work out. You start going to the gym. You just have a different dimension. You're not the same body. You're shape shifting. Wave function, particle, right? A particle and a wave. Every subatomic atom is both at the same time. And that's why we think about these ideas of superposition in quantum mechanics and quantum physics, which states, and I'm fully riffing here, I do not have it written down, but it's to the idea of that, right? The particle is the particle until you collapse the wave function, until you make a decision, right? Every possibility is out there. That's the superposition of the quantum subatomic particle, is that it's bipping and bopping. It's a particle and it's a wave. It's a particle and it's a wave. And because it's a holographic universe, depending on how you see it, due to the observer effect, right? What you see and how you look at it changes it atomically on a subatomic level. If you look in the mirror and you tell yourself over and over again how ugly you are, how worthless you are, how blah, 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 all that stuff, right? We've seen this in movies. We know the drill. I've lived it. Have you lived it, where we've been in those highs and those lows, right? And all of a sudden, it's like you really start to believe that. You start to look in the mirror, you start to see this version of yourself. Equally so, when we shift that and we start to choose words, we choose thoughts, choose kindness towards ourselves, towards others, we start to live in a different dimension of reality. The universe is holographic. So let me see what else I have. Consciousness influences the fabric of the universe. How we look at what we see changes it. Subatomic particles are malleable, right? And they simply reflect what we choose to see from them. I can see you as a threat, or I can see you as a benign individual. And the way that I decide to perceive you is actually going to energetically influence how you show up for me. Whether you show up in your parallel, in your dimension, in your universe as whatever, because I've collapsed the wave function from superposition of, well, he could be nice, or he could be a threat, or he could be a weirdo, or he could be helpful, or and there's all these potentials, right? For all of us, I could be a weirdo. We can all be whatever it is, but through our beliefs, through the grid matrix, through the stories we've been told, and those conscious choices we make, boom, we decide. Like I decided I am not going to be an addict anymore with wine. Like there was a choice, right? We decide, we collapse the wave function, right? Are we, for months we can be like, well, I'm going to go get another bottle of wine. I'm going to keep shooting up, or I'm going to, whatever it is that keeps you bound in this 3D and keeps you running those old stories. We can keep doing that until we choose again. We collapse the wave function of all of those potentials, of all of those pathways of, like, if I keep drinking wine, what's going to happen, right? If I start even thinking about stopping drinking wine, what's going to happen? If I really stop drinking wine, what's going to happen? It's just an idea. But there's these scientific aspects that speak to this, that the whole universe is malleable, and it's what we're putting into it, how we perceive it, that makes it so, that reflects it back to us, that reality that we experience. So parallel dimensions, parallel universes, and the God phone. God calls every week on the show. Hello? Hi, God. Yes. Okay. God says hi. And first of all, so God, if there's anyone new here watching, God calls every week, and just this message is so powerful. Yeah. Okay. God wants to express that God is just a word, and that it is just a word, just a symbol to that which really cannot be defined or limited. Yes, God is indivisible. You can't separate God. God is unity. God is love. Thank you, dear God. Yes. Yes, I will read from the Mayan Oracle. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Blessings. God says hi and bye, everyone. Okay. Love you too. And God's all like, and I am. There's no beginning or end with God. And I use that word here, again, to anchor this frequency of love. I wasn't brought up with religion. I wasn't brought up with going to church or anything. And I only really discovered the word God in the last 5 years through my study of A Course in Miracles, where God is every other word. But because I didn't have the polarity or sort of Christianity or whatever, I want to say beat into me, because I know that happened to a lot of people that I went to school with in Ireland, or a lot of people I know there. I didn't have the polarity, so that when God came around and I was at a certain point in my spiritual practices, I was like, oh, there's that word. I never really used it before. What does it mean? And only to realize that through those teachings, what it conveys and what it means is love without an opposite. And I am down with that. And that is down and the root of fourth dimensional consciousness, of understanding who we are in the light of that love. And that's where we're going to go in our meditation. Now, the God Phone was offering for us to read a little piece out of the Mayan Oracle. This is a very, very powerful, powerful tool. If it calls you, give me a DM or a comment, and I'll make sure I send you the link to it. And there was just one more thing I just want to make sure that we cover before we read, go a little bit deeper, and get into our meditation here. Okay. Holographic universe. Consciousness influences the fabric of the universe. The observer effect, how you look at things, make those things change. Everything is a particle and a wave. And you know what? Because because everything is a particle and a wave, and because you are everything, the atoms that make this universe, you are made of those same atoms. Well, then you are both a particle and a wave, right? You can change just like that. And again, for the highest good, in ways that are going to serve you, right? Blessings. Nice to see you here. Thank you for being here. So, particle and a wave. Okay, so if they are both, we are both. But we're just beginning to understand this awesome power. You can change your circumstances. You can change your circumstances. You can collapse the wave function. You can go from superposition of I don't know what the heck is going on in my life. I'm a victim. I don't know how to help myself. I'm helpless, or whatever the circumstances might be in whichever direction. You can go from that to making a decision, to making a choice and saying, no, I'm going to choose to I'm going to choose love. I'm going to choose to be open to the signs the universe is going to show me, because I'm ready to start moving in a certain direction in regards to this aspect, whatever it might be in your life, which is what we're going to work on in our meditation. So another thing, I just want to share two little stories, or one story and one idea, and then we're going to read. For years when I lived in New York, I was in a rock band called 69 Nova. And we were hard, heavy. I had my dreadlocks, all my piercings and everything. We would just turn it up to 11 and headbang and rock it out. And we had so much fun. Or I remember one night we were doing a gig like out in Long Island or something. And I had drank a lot. And I used to like to smoke a lot, like a lot. And for whatever reason, that gig kept getting set back. We were supposed to go on at 9, and then it got pushed to 10, and then it was like 11, and it was 12. And by the time we went on, and the place was packed, it was good vibes. But by the time we went on, I was hammered. And I had I had smoked way too many cigarettes. And, and I could feel my throat, my voice was like not having it. And I was thinking, ooh, I used to wail with that band. And I was like, whew, and I could tell I was drunk, and I had smoked too many cigarettes, where I felt this angst suddenly that I was not going to be able to sing on the degree and with the potential that I know is the baseline, right? That I know I can do because of all the times I've ever sang before. Like, I know what I'm capable of, but there was this like dawning in this drunken haze of realizing like, uh-oh, I think I smoked too much. I drank too much before stage. Am I going to be able to pull this off? Am I going to be able to rage and like get out there and rock it out? Not just physically, but like with my voice on the level that I know I can. And I got really freaked out because I realized I had partied a little too hard before the show, and it was packed. There was a lot of not everyone, but loads of people came out to see us, and they had waited the 3 hours. It kept getting pushed back. Everyone else was messed up too. It was good times, but still I wanted to deliver a proper performance. And I remember walking out of the venue and going around the block and finding this doorway. and doing a little meditation. And I was like, higher self, help me, help me, help me. What do I do? And higher self is like, okay, here's what you're going to do. And it's very much in attunement and alignment with what we're talking about today. Higher self had me go in, connect through the heart, connect with all of those versions of myself that have ever wailed and rocked it out and sang as if my voice was a rubber band, high and low, and just every note on key and in tune. Higher self said, you are going to connect with all of those versions of you in all of those parallel dimensions. And for the highest good, you're going to breathe and bring that energy into you, into the now. And then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to just trust and let it go and let yourself sing and just enjoy. Let things be what they are. And that was it. And it was like a 2-minute, 3-minute thing. And I was like, boop, and I popped back in and I was like, okay, we're done. That's it. I've called on all of those versions of myself that know how to rock it out and that have rocked it out. And I'm going to allow the dimensionality of those aspects of me to be greater than the part of me that is concerned and that is worried that I'm going to, mess up and that I'm not going to be able to sing the way I could. That gig was like one of the most amazing shows that we've ever had. Hit every key, every note, everything was perfectly fine. And I remember thinking like, whoa, and this was a long time ago, right? The band broke up in the early 2000s. So we're going back a minute. Now, very briefly about affirmations. Thinking about these multiple dimensions, and these parallel dimensions and universes, we know that when we do affirmations, that we're rewiring synaptically our minds to think about things in a new way. We're also, perhaps, if you study with me, aware that through the synaptic shifts in our body mind, that we are creating a new way that we're connecting through the universal grid matrix of collective consciousness. So that which we're connecting to on a new way by way of our new affirmations is plugging us into those new potentials of experience for us in the world, right? And for the highest good coming to meet us here in the 3D. And so we're generating this new vocabulary. And as long as we're always coming from a place of love, then we're learning how to speak that language of light, and we're bridging that heaven on earth reality for ourselves, that 4D, fourth dimensional consciousness for ourselves to experience. So that's just a little tickle of some other ways to think about all this stuff. So let's go ahead and we're going to read here. The God Phone was offering that we read this last paragraph from Manifestation. Manifestation, passkey to true identity. In this and all worlds, parallel dimensions, unlock the gates to the great mystery manifesting through you. So before we go on, what is seeking to manifest through you? While I read a little bit more here, we all have that thing, and maybe for you, it's a healing. Maybe for you right now, it's a healing in your body. I have a new friend who it seems just in a friend on social media. I don't know them personally just yet, but through our such conversation and through looking at their page, it wasn't too long ago that this gentleman had the accessibility of his legs and his arms, and now he's in a wheelchair and he can't walk. That's a different dimension. That's a different dimension. So again, is he going to listen to the doctors that say you're never going to walk again? Or is he going to listen to that one doctor, and that one doctor might be the higher self in his heart saying, you can walk again, And so where we're going is we're coming into that true identity. So what is that for you? What is your walk again? What is your walkabout in this world? What's calling you? We're going to go in, connect with higher self through with these versions of ourselves in these parallel dimensions, and listen to how they're going to counsel and guide us for the highest good of all, to be a part of that fabric of the divine sacred geometry that joins us all in this dance of love and light. We're going to listen. So what is it for you now? I'm just going to read a little bit more. Qualities, intention, the qualities, right, of manifestation from that higher self and really embodying your true identity, our intention, motivation, that true identity, the foundation of the essence self, right? All of these aspects aligned with manifestation. Unconstrict your vision, right? Physical eyes versus third eye, to include the seemingly impossible. Everything we've been told about the world, everything we've been told about limitations, do not have to be true. Do not have to be true. That's where you collapse timelines. When you choose again, right? You could have been told your whole life, you will never walk again. You will never da 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 da. And when you're like, something shifts in you and you're like, I will walk again. You know, boom. All of a sudden you've collapsed that timeline. Like Inception, the buildings fall, everything just falls away and boom, there's a new landscape. There's a new trajectory. There's new potentials and dimensions, universes for you to access. By standing outside your linear perceptions, which dictate that things must occur in a step-by-step way, right? That's how we access that seemingly impossible. So instead of trying to figure it out with your ego mind, simply resonate with the desired manifestation you seek, that you know is your truth. See and feel it as already completed, because in non-linear reality it is. By focusing your awareness beyond the static appearance of reality into the generative, quantum, active aspect of the creation, the causal matrix of archetypes and sacred geometry, you can naturally precipitate directly that which you desire. Do you believe it? I believe it. I've seen the light, right? I do. I mean, we're doing it. We've done it. You've probably done it. You've done it. I bet you've done it. I bet you're doing it right now. So blessings. Thank you, everyone. There's so many new people here. And thank you for the few folks that I recognize here on Instagram. Thank you, everyone new, for stopping by. Just before we get into our meditation, I am keeping an eye on the time. I'm here every week, Thursdays, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard. This is my show, 4D Trinity. So take a moment. It's going to be a quickie, but we're going to go in. So take a moment, close your eyes and get comfortable. Take a deep breath in and out. Now you're aware of that aspect, that healing, that new job, that move, that change in your life, that which you know is your truth in your heart. So we're going to do a little quantum jumping. So dropping into your heart space. Keep breathing. And from your heart space, we're going to enter the rose quartz crystalline cave to do this work. So imagine yourself now from your heart space in an illumined rose quartz crystalline cave. It is beautiful and cool, and you are safe. Now call in your higher self to meet you there. You can imagine that you're sitting comfortably and easy in a seated meditation posture. And higher self begins to materialize and sits just right across from you. You acknowledge one another. You breathe together. Let's take a deep inhale for the mind. A full exhale. A breath for the body. And one for the emotions. And imagine these aspects of the multidimensional self that you are connecting with spirit right through your heart, and from your heart, connect from your heart to higher self. And you're going to close your eyes with higher self in this meditation. You're going to ask higher self to show you the parallel dimension or dimensions of that which you know is your truth. So again, if there's a healing, if there's some beautiful change, a shift, an aspiration, a goal, something that you've had issues with your whole life that you just can't seem to turn that corner. What is it today, right now? Because you can come back and do this meditation again, but what is it right now that you're seeking guidance from yourself via the higher self in a parallel dimension? Become aware of that now. Is it the new house, the healing, whatever it is? And then from your heart to higher self's heart, sitting right across from you, telepathically convey. Let higher self know that you have seen these blips of divine fortune, of divine health, of divine travel, of whatever it might be. You've seen these downloads that higher self has offered to you at times. But now we're going to go in, we're going to ask higher self to open the way and to show us, to take us into that parallel dimension where we already exist, where we already are, and make contact with that version of yourself there. So asking this now of higher self from your heart telepathically, and feel your heart connecting with higher self's heart. And from higher self's heart, boom, you are aligned with this new timeline. Go into that timeline, see yourself with that healing, with that successful business, whatever it is, that new apartment, it could be anything. See yourself there, doing what it is that you know is your truth, that you would like to do more of, that you would like to embody more of. And notice that version of you in that parallel dimension feels your presence and looks over its shoulder and sees you and welcomes you and tells you to take a seat. And so you sit down with this version of you in this parallel dimension. Now ask this version of you how you, in this timeline that you're in this dimension that you're in now, how can you create the correct conditions, make the changes, make choices? What things, what guidance can this version of you that already has, that is already embodying that frequency that you wish to be at, how can you make it so for you for now? And listen to what they offer. And be open to listen in many ways. They may show you a picture. They may take you to a different landscape. They may talk to you. Listen. And ask them anything else. Whatever it is you feel would serve your journey at this time in aligning with your truth. And feeling that the message is complete for now. The information you've received is that which you can begin to work with, and you can always come back here. We will say thank you to that version of ourselves in that parallel dimension or those dimensions. And we begin to bring our awareness back to that seated position in that rose quartz crystalline cave with higher self. And telepathically, we will say thank you to higher self. And higher self is now reaching into their heart, into this powerful dimension of their heart, which is your heart, which is the one heart. And they are pulling a morsel of that powerful energy and offering it to you to eat. And as you're guided, maybe you will, maybe you won't, receive that morsel of powerful heart space rooted genius and activation that can further activate you, inspire you, motivate you towards actually living and embodying and exercising the tools that that parallel dimension of you offered. Eat it, place it in your mouth, chew it, swallow it, let your salivary glands break it down, and feel that substance beginning to commune with your heart, with the atoms, with the cells that make you up, and just allow it. Don't try to control it. Let that love, and only love, be an alchemy in your body-mind continuum. And we'll say thank you again to higher self. And one more time, we'll take a deep breath in for mind. Breathing out, breathing for body. And for the emotions. Begin to slowly come back to your body, away from the rose quartz crystalline cave and into the space where you are. Blessings, everyone. I'm so grateful for you being here. I do my best to bring you. I really do. I love being here, you know, and I really appreciate your support and your presence. Follow me at my homepage, Tuesday May Thomas, at Instagram. Follow Grid Mind Science, my movie project. It's all about the metaphysics of the universe and how the energy in the universe works, how we're already a part of that, understanding that connection between science and spirituality. Grid Mind Science is on Facebook and Twitter right now as well, but I'm really, really, really super active on Instagram with it currently. I'm going to be doing a full professional presentation in 2020 in February at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles on Grid Mind Science, the set of the teachings that they are, and also introducing this movie concept. So thank you everyone for subscribing and following at YouTube as well. And thank you for all of your waves and your love here at Instagram. Go to my website, tuesdaymaythomas.com. The link is in my homepage, and subscribe to my monthly love letter at my website so we can keep each other in tune with what's going on. I'm so very grateful for your presence. I thank you, and I thank you, and I thank you, and I thank you. Blessings.